Okay, today is the day. Today is the day that I get the noisy diff out of my XC70 and hopefully replace it with one that isn't noisy. This is the original diff from this car. If you've watched my conversion video, you'll understand why this is not in the car and a noisy one is, which makes very little sense in retrospect, but here we are. Now, this is also very oily. This is oily because I've stored it vertically and all of the oil has pissed out all over the floor and made a big mess. See? Not because it's leaking anywhere, it's come out of the breather tubes on the top. I don't care. It's getting new fluid and new filter and stuff anyway, so that is fine. You can also see on the sticker, this is 2.58 to 1 ratio, which I have since been informed is consistent with all of these P3 diffs. So that's great, and that was the reason why I swapped it in the first place, because I thought that wasn't the case, but if it is the case, we're great. So in the car, the carrier bearing, the input shaft carrier bearing is the one that is playing up, I believe. There seems to be a common fault with those, and while it is fixable, I need special tools, and it's money I don't have right now. But I do have this diff, and it's quiet, so I would like to put it in, and I'd like to use the Haldex unit from the one that's in the car, because this one's got lots of Ks, and I never really tested how well it works. So I want to separate that, get rid of it, put the Haldex from the other one on here, new filter, new fluid, new O-rings, same with the back, not taking the hat off, but I will pull the drain out, put new fluid in it, and then clean it up and bang it in the car. That's the plan for today, so let's get into it. Okay, here's a collection of bits and pieces. So this is the filter, Haldex 4 filter. This is a generation 4 diff, which is the same as the one that's in the car. And this is sitting how it would sit in the car at the moment. So, you know, top, bottom. This is where the filter lives, and you can see how difficult this would be to get to in the car because it actually sits on top of the drive shaft. So in the car you'd need to probably remove the pump to get to it, remove this module to get to it. Volvo Sweden did another great video on how to do this in car. He's got the same generation Haldex, so definitely recommend watching that because I wouldn't imagine many people would take the diff out to do this. Check it out, I'll link it if necessary. So I'm going to change the filter in here. One of the other things I need to do is change the plug. These god-awful Volkswagen plugs break all the time. So I've just bought a pin kit. I'm just going to change the body. The wiring's obviously fine. I've just broken the little retaining clip, so I'm going to swap that out while I'm in there. These are the O-rings for when you pull things apart, put them back together. Change that too. Haldex specific generation 4 fluid, which I got from Germany, I think, London, somewhere in Europe, and just some locally acquired 7590, which meets API GL5 specification, which is what the front and rear diffs use in the Volvo, I believe. Again, I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, let me know. It's going in anyway, so hopefully it doesn't explode. So yeah, that's it for now. Next, I'll put some videos up of me fighting the diff free. Looking in Vita, I need to wheels off. I need to remove the hub assembly so I can get the axle free. Same on both sides, and then I should be able to get to the bolts to pull the rest of the diff. So let's get into it. Okay, better view with the wheels off. Before I can get the diff out, I need to pull these half shafts out. To do that, I need to have room to pull them this way out of the diff. So I will need to disassemble this from here, pull this arm out. I do want to change these arms anyway because the bushings that are up in here are actually stuffed and my other ones are better. So now might be an opportune time to do all of that. Alright, I'll record a bit more and get some stuff off. Okay, next progress video. I've just removed this shield from the other side. 18mm weird things that hold it in. They're kind of like nuts, but they just go on those. Just to cover the fuel tank. As I mentioned, my car is more V70 than it is XC70. On an XC70, or at least in my D5, this heat shield wraps right around over the tank. It's actually there. I didn't put that back in because the straps are different. I don't have any provisions for actually holding it, and I didn't realise that until after the tank was in, and well, it was too far. Couldn't be bothered backing it out from that point. So, but what you can see in here is these are the bushings that I was mentioning. You can see how rooted they are. I want to put some Powerflex ones in here, but for now I'll just put my other ones in, which are in better condition than these. But next step is remove the brake line bracket, drop the bolts for this, let this hang down, remove the shock. I'll do that and do another update. Got a little bit carried away without filming. You've got to take off so much suspension shit to get the axles out. And I also need to replace the front, the bushes in here. So these arms are coming off. I'm going to use the best of the two sets of brakes that I have to put back, probably the ones that were on there. Yeah. So getting there, just removed this, and the spring fell out. The shock's not attached. The brakes caliper is off. These other control arms are off. I just need to undo this one, and then the only thing that's holding this on is the only thing holding this on is the bolts up here. Daniel's working away hard on the other side.
What's up?
Alright, another video update soon. Okay, video update. It's really hard to work and video, so there's going to be some gaps between what I have showed you from last video. I took the frame out. I can't see any way that this diff could be physically lifted up and around without having this at least lowered. And considering there's only 4 bolts holding it at this point, there's really no point in not removing it. Also got you got the fuel, I think charcoal canister that's to the top. That had to come off. So there would be no way to get to the top bolt on the diff otherwise. The half shafts wouldn't bloody come out, so they needed to be levered from the top. I massacred the diff a little bit doing that, but that's alright. It doesn't care, neither do I. So that's the XC70 diff. The other one is over there. They look exactly the same. This one was stickered to say the ratio, the other one isn't. I probably should have done a little spin test to make sure it is correct, but I really trust the person that told me that they're the same, so I'm just going to continue on. I just washed it. Obviously I've got this all full of water and shit. I don't care. This part's coming off. I'm going to put the Haldex unit from that one in there. I've got the level sensor full of water, so I've just dried that out with the air compressor. I'm going to do a bit of electrical contact cleaner in there to stop any corrosion. And I filled the diff up with water as well because I don't care. But I've got to change the diff fluid in that anyway, so I'll give that a good clean out and spray it with small compressed air, and we should be good. I think we're going to be pretty good. So next step, I'm going to try and shunt this forward on my little Transjack wood concoction machine, and then I'll be able to get the Haldex off the front. I hope it just pulls off. I'll be able to have a look inside. Yeah, there's that. Springs out, half shafts out, rear arms, rear trailing arms. As I mentioned earlier, these bushes here are completely rooted. You can probably see they're completely torn off in here, and that's all the way around. Oh, jeez. I should get better at videoing things. But there, oh, look at that. Ha. So they're completely torn off. They're not doing much of anything at the moment. I was going to replace these while I was working. Focus. But the problem is you need special tools, and the tools are not cheap. And I'm only going to do this once, and I'll never ever ever do this again. So I don't really want to buy the tools. So other option was that I would put the Powerflex equivalent in. Because Powerflex ones, I could put this in the press and take it out. That's not a big deal. But putting the other one in right is a bit challenging. The Powerflex ones don't need special tools. So what I might do is I might hold on to these arms, put the Powerflex in there, and just swap these over another day. But time will tell. At this point in time, it's easier just to take these arms, put them aside, grab my other 2 arms, which are hiding over there, and put them in, because they've got new wheel bearings in them anyway, because I did the wheel bearings not long ago. So I've got better bushings, not new, but better bushings here, newer, known good wheel bearings here. Reuse the same half shafts, because I think they're height dependent. They're a little bit thinner than the XC70 ones, but they are a known good, and they seem to be in good condition, so those will go back in. charcoal canister will go back on top, and then it all goes back underneath. So it's not too difficult. It's quite involved. It's not like your typical rear drive diff that has bolt-on half shafts that it'll take an hour to swap. It's quite involved, but it's not hard per se. It's just there's a lot of it. So we'll continue. We'll do another video shortly once I've got the Haldex apart. Alright, small change of scenery. I've just moved the diff into the front of my shed just because it's 32 degrees outside and that sun is killing me. So I'm just going to let this record, and I'll speed it up later just to make it so it's not so boring. But yeah, here we go. Alright, I made a mess, but that was expected and I don't care. That's what a Haldex looks like if anyone was wondering. Generation 4 Haldex. Yeah, should have some clutches and stuff in here. I hope this is in the frame. I'm not really looking at the camera, but yeah, that's that. Pretty clean in here. Might just give that a spin actually. You can see it on the camera. Let's see if that works for me. Oh yeah, oh, beautiful. Alright. So you've got your pinion input, much like a conventional diff. I say conventional because I usually deal with shit. Like my other car, I have a Volvo 240 and I've just done a Ford 8.8 inch conversion in that. So when I say conventional, I'm talking about something like that. But I mean that's much the same now when you consider that normally your coupling for your tail shaft would be on this instead of on the Haldex, which pulls it all forward. That's what you normally would see. So yeah, there's that. Alright, I'm going to pull the Haldex off the other one now, out of frame, and I'll bring it over when I'm ready to swap it over. Okay, got the other Haldex out. You can see it sits a little shorter, but that's because of the input flange being different between the XC and the V70. I don't know if that's specific to XC or if it's more particular to age or engine combination or what. All I know is that was on the XC70, that was on the V70. That's the one I'm using because that's what suits the tail shaft I have. I don't know if the normal tail shaft will just fit inside of that, and I also don't care. This one has less case, this one's going in. So, there's the mess. A better shot in there while I've got it. I'm just going to give that a light spray of degreaser. I'm putting new fluid in there anyway, obviously, because it's all there now. But yeah, I'm going to put new fluid in. I'm going to give it a quick degrease before I bang the Haldex in, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I've just given that a quick clean, as you've seen on the video. Let me just fix this up a bit. Come across here a little. And if we go, oh, look at that. Jeez, it's like you're with me. It's like you're right here with me. There. I've just cleaned it out a bit. You can see, you might be able to see, in the back of the housing there's some scoring on the back. It looks as though There's a Torrington bearing. Let me just pick one of these up so you can see it. Oh. Right, there's a Torrington bearing that runs here that I'd say is skipped at some point and has left a impression. But look, this one feels pretty good to me. It's going to go straight in as it is. But that's what that will be, because there's a stack of clutches in here. This is making a big mess, so I'm going to pop it in now. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart on me. Yeah, perfect. Except not quite. Where's the bolt? It's a very good fit. One of those things you want to make sure you get lined up right to begin with. Now, I'm just going to use a bolt to pull that in. I've got an assortment down here somewhere. One bolt is longer, by the look of it too, which I'd say is that one, because there's more aluminium there than there is here. Yes, it's aluminium, not aluminum. Fight me if you want. It's got two eyes in it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, long bolt. Aluminum. God. Come on, America. What are you doing to me? So much love for America. You do things like that. Yep, they've all got the same amount of stick out, so I reckon that this will just pull in now. I'm just going to nip it up. I'm not going to pull it in with the ratchet. This will probably do some damage, so... Oh yeah, that's all straight in. It's almost flush already. Oh, nothing to it. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, beautiful. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Huggy Dugs. I will check the torque spec of that in the book and tighten it off frame. You can believe me, because I'm an honourable person and I will always do that. But yeah, that's that part swapped. Next part, I'm going to do this filter now, and I'm going to loosen this fill and drain hole. I'm not going to fill it yet because I want to fill it when it's level in the car, because it's kind of on a slope at the moment and I don't know what the exact angle is it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to clean things now pretty good, drain things pretty well, and loosen things that are going to be hard to loosen later, and then I'll put it in the car. But the filter and everything I can change now, so let's do that. That looks like 4mm Allen head. That's a 4mm. Oh yeah. Look at that. I get the impression that most of these bolts, they're expecting you to remove the flange to get to remove this, but I don't want to. I can see Loctite. I know it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm not doing that, so I'll just struggle. Struggling's fine. But yeah, that's. Oh, why? The kit I ordered that has a replacement filter and seals actually came with a pair of gloves to do this job. But the way I operate, you'd need a full body hazmat suit to not get oil all over you. As I mentioned, I'm not a mechanic. I do make a hash of this, but I also don't like to waste money. Well, not waste, I don't like to spend money when I can do something. So I'm going to do whatever I can by myself. Yeah, I remember this. This was in Volvo Sweden's video. He had a real hard time getting that out, and he used a hot pick to pull it. I don't want to heat one up but I reckon I could just pull that this way. I reckon that would stab me in the wrist beautifully. Oh, fuck yeah. Now I'm drenched in oil, but I didn't use a hot pick, so... Yep. And the next part, you just used some pointy nose pliers to pull out. And I have some laying in the dirt next to me. Oh, come on you. Yep. Beautiful. There's that. So that looks just like the one that I purchased, only heavier because it's full of dirt and oil. Just going to put that safely in that bucket down there. Yeah, would you look at that? Alright, let me get my new one. Oop. Someone spilled oil all over the floor and everything's slippery now. New one. So I've got, if it's focused, can't tell, filter, new lid, new thing, and 2 new bolts. I don't know why. I don't know why it needs new bolts. It's not going to be a torque to yield thing, it's just crap. I imagine people are more spastic than me and tend to ruin things when they touch them. Alright, there's a filter. This is heaps lighter than the other one. The other one was black, so that, in the frame, there you go. There's a new one. That's going in, goes in that way. Pretty easy. I grabbed onto that little lip before. That little lip there. Well, I don't know if that's going to focus, but I did that before to pull it out. That will go straight back in. The paperwork says to lubricate it with the oil. It has oil in it. There's splash everywhere, so I don't need to do that. Okay, cap and cover. I don't know if this has to be done in 2 parts or not, but again, Volvo Sweden did, and I trust his opinion. I actually messaged him when I did this mod to thank him for all of the help that he's providing people in the Volvo community, because I'm speaking for myself, but his videos are fantastic. I find them fantastic. Butt's going in there. This bit just goes over the top. I don't think that has an... It looks symmetrical. Can't really... Looks the same both ways, so I don't think it matters. I'll just put it on, do the bolts up. Yeah. Better use my new bolts. Wouldn't want to use festy old bolts that have nothing wrong with them. Yeah. He also goes to the efforts of actually sandpapering the mating surfaces to get them really smooth to make sure that he doesn't have any leaks. I don't care if my car leaks. A leak is a blessing. A leak stops something else next to it rusting. So, as long as most of the fluid stays in, it's all good. Alright, where's my tool? Yeah, I could imagine that being quite challenging to do in the car. Not impossible. Like, it goes all the way around. Tilt the camera down a smidge. Right. When Volvo Sweden does it, he takes the pump out. I think because he's cleaning the pump. I'm not going to bother with that because I know it works and his wasn't that dirty, all things considered. He takes this thing off, I think, whatever that happens to be. And then he takes this out. So I reckon that's done. I reckon that's good enough, ready to go back in. I'm going to give that a final clean, but I'm just going to put a plug in here now. I've got a spare loom, so I'm just going to pop that. Oh, there it is. That's handy. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is a loom that runs to the diff. It actually connects up just under the floor, but it's self-contained. So I broke this because it's one of those stupid Volkswagen plugs. But putting this in here now will stop it getting shit in it while I clean it out. So it will do its job. I have a new one of those that I need to pin on next, so that will be fun. And I'll do that before I put the rear frame in, so I've got somewhere to move. That needs another degrease now, and yeah, ready for the next step. I'll stop the recording here and I'll resume it shortly. Now this is the diff plug that connects to the Haldex. So I broke when I was doing the conversion. This is a Volkswagen plug, and this clip here is shit, basically. You're supposed to pry that way to get the thing to open, but it's always got dirt in it, or it's heat affected, and it just doesn't work. So it's only 5 pins in use. It's got some blanks. Can't really pry that open with one hand, I don't think, but yeah, sort of. It's got some blanks in there. So I have another plug, which I have bought new, just so I have a clip that actually sort of works. I just don't want this to come off while I'm driving. I had the other one zip tied on, but while I'm here, I may as well change it. So I'm just going to de-pin the other plug. I'm not going to recrimp any wires because there won't be anything wrong with the wires I've got. Just pull, reattach, carry on with the next step. It's always this fiddly shit that takes forever. Alright, I've got the plug body removed. That's the broken one. Got the broken tab. I've just moved the blanks. Man, I'm really good at cameras. I've just moved the blanks across to the new plug in the same spot. I have my wires, which there's no way this is going to focus. Yeah? Yeah. I've got my wires. Wires. Yes. Got my wires hanging out. It's got a boot on it. It's a bit of electrical tape when I'm done. And I have my reference plug, which I understand that most people will not have, but I have a reference plug. I also use this to test the removal of a pin to make sure I didn't break anything that I necessarily needed to keep. I could just swap this in. It's not hard but not easy, and I'd rather not. And I need to remove a lot of this shielding to get to the other end of it, so I'm not going to if it can be avoided. And there's not much to gain because this one's broken too. So I'm going to continue and see how far I get. Alright, well that's been a saga. Could not get the pins to engage in the plug. I think the plug I got maybe from a different manufacturer, but it otherwise fits, but the pin length seems different, so oh, focus please. I ended up chopping all the plugs off, so it's about 1 centimetre shorter. It's not an issue. Just, yeah, crimped on the last plug, last pin, and I'll put it all back together. Hooray. Okay, quick video update. Day 3, surprisingly. I had a lot of trouble with the rear arms, because I tried to do something a little bit dodgy and it didn't work out for me. If I can see in here, the bushings in here are completely shot, but I had the other arms which are original to this car, which are XC70 arms. And yes, I know this is an XC70, but it's got a V70 rear end in it. The arms, as far as I can tell, look absolutely identical, but I cannot make them fit. The lower links will not bolt up. You need to pry on everything to get the holes to line up. It just doesn't work. So there must be some small differences between the two arms. So instead I've just swapped the wheel bearings over for now because they're a lot newer, and I'm going to leave these knackered bushings in for the moment because if I get the proper tool I can change those in the car later. So they're all back in. Still need to do the brakes on that side. Everything, all the bolts are loose. They're just finger tight because you need to tighten them on the floor. Yeah, so that's all in. I've just done the Haldex service. I didn't film that, sorry, it was too hard to hold the phone and everything else. But I pulled the pump out here, same as Volvo Sweden's video, undid the cover just to allow it to come out past the flange, which worked out okay. New O-rings, cleaned it all out with brake clean, popped it back in, seems fine. And I've just started pumping the fluid out of the rear half of the diff. So that's going well. The old fluid is really not good. It absolutely stinks and it looks like a glitter bomb. So yeah, that's full of metal. That's alright. I've got some, I can't find 80 weight, but this says it's compatible with 80 weight. So API GL5 75 W85 should do the job, and I'll fill that back up and flush it through because I've got plenty of it. Right. Okay, job done. I've just got back from a small test drive, a couple of kilometres around the streets. I just went down a dirt track just to activate the traction control and the ABS to make sure everything's happy and healthy. I pulled off way too much of this stuff in the wrong order, so refer to the instructions in Vita when you're doing it. I mentioned earlier that I did it a difficult way because I tried to replace these arms when I shouldn't have bothered. These links need to be tightened when the car's on ground level. As I've got a 2-post hoist, I have to set it up on stands to do that, or not stands, on ramps to do that, so it's very challenging, but I've done that. And after returning from a small drive, you take 50ml of fluid out of the Haldex, which I've just done, and it came out just as dirty as the original oil, so I'm not sure if it was worth it in the end, but it needed to be done. It is done now. Everything is torqued to spec, everything is looking fine, there are no leaks. I did the front one as well, which is very, very difficult to get the, you see the nut in there, that's the actual fill port. It's very difficult to get a hose down and into the bottom of the actual front diff, but I managed to get some out at least. I flushed it twice just to see if I get as much as possible. That's the job done. Alright, thanks all.